And so without having to take his or her eyes off where the aircraft is headed, the pilots can see in that HUD, that heads-up display. Gentlemen, you just saw a very, very special airplane take off. At the controls is a former Marine. His name is Art Nalls. He has flown Harriers for the Marine Corps for many, many years. And for those of you who looked at the aircraft and said, oh, there's a Harrier. Well, yes, sort of. It's not your Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the only civilian-owned Royal Navy Sea Harrier in the world, and it's here at Langley today. Art Nalls owns it, and Art Nalls is flying it. Take a look. Get your cameras ready, because I think this is only about the third air show in which he's performed in his British version of because this aircraft has its design roots back in the late 1950s and early 1960s in Great Britain with Hawker Aircraft and an aircraft called the P1127 Kestrel, experimenting with vectored thrust. But right now, here's 400 miles an hour.
Yeah, private over.
Vectored thrust is a technique that was perfected by Hawker Aircraft in Great Britain, along with work with the United States Marine Corps, to change the direction of the jet exhaust from straight behind to straight down. And there are two nozzles behind the wing. Those two nozzles are jet exhaust, which can be redirected. There are two more nozzles that pull air from the initial stages of the jet, called bleed air, and they are also directable as we get a high-speed pass over 550 miles. Now, the ability to redirect the thrust of the engine and that bleed air will enable this airplane to slow down and literally hover like a helicopter. Art Nalls got this airplane some time back. It is phenomenal. It's the Sea Harrier. He got it surplus from the Royal Navy. Quite frankly, the Royal Navy had no idea that he wanted to fly it. And the Royal Navy was a little bit ticked when they found out he was going to make it operational again. But he said, I got the sales receipt, it's mine. No, he didn't do that. Actually, he was able to get a number of spare parts as well. He's going to bring it around and do the dance for you. Only 76 of this particular Harrier variant were built. And the second of those aircraft, and the oldest surviving Sea Harrier. It was built in 1979 originally as a fighter, and then it was later completely rebuilt to accommodate the Blue Vixen radar and the redesignated Fighter Attack 2. The FA2 has a lengthened fuselage and better avionics, and dual multifunction displays, and the ability to fire the advanced medium-range air-to-air missile known as the AMRAAM. It's going to get very noisy, and I'm going to stop talking when he's in front of us. But know that the redirected thrust, that vectored thrust under the airplane, plus jet thrust, air thrusters in the nose, the tail, and the wings are going to enable Art Nalls to maneuver this aircraft into a hover. This is one of the very first times he's hovered this aircraft in an air show. So this is very, very rare and very impressive. Here we go, with a 21,000-pound thrust, Rolls-Royce passes engine, slowing down to The original Kestrel aircraft back in 1960 had a 10,000-pound of thrust Rolls-Royce Pegasus engine. If you look carefully, you can see the nozzles. The bleed air nozzles just in front of the wings, and the jet nozzles, the exhaust nozzles, just behind the wings. It's got huge intakes because it's got to suck in a lot of air to make it work. Now this is a day that I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do a vertical takeoff because of a couple of things. It's a very hot day. Number two, there is a water system that allows them to put 50 imperial gallons of distilled water into the aircraft to inject that into the engine to cool the engine temperatures and allow the engine to develop more thrust. Unfortunately, that water system is not functional right now in the airplane. Let's see where he's going to go. He's going to spool it up. Let's see if he's going to get a rolling takeoff or he's going to go straight vertical. He's pointed into the wind, so he could potentially do a vertical takeoff. He also did extensive flight testing on the Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier and has more time in a Harrier without power than anybody else in the world, about 8 hours. He literally tested engine out tests. He conducted engine out tests in the Harrier to make sure that the engine could be restarted. It's a phenomenally difficult job, and here you have one of the most talented test pilots anywhere in the world, Art Nalls, who is right here doing this thing. We are so pleased to have him here. Born and raised in Northern Virginia, flying the only personally owned Royal Navy Sea Harrier in the world. After a successful tour in Harriers and working at the test pilot school, he had the opportunity to fly and evaluate a lot of aircraft, tactical support and transport aircraft, from the A-7 Corsair II to the Cessna A-37 to the F-15 and F-16 and many others. And he was back at Naval Air Station Patuxent River down in Maryland to begin the flight test on what became the AV-8B Harrier II. He figures, his comment was, when he was running it without the engine, he says it's very difficult flight time to accumulate, and other than the space shuttle, he thinks he's probably the fastest glider pilot in the world. Art Nalls has also been flying a chest-built L-39 Albatross at a lot of air shows around the country. I've talked at great length with Art about the testing of this aircraft, and on the second flight test, he had a hydraulic leak and couldn't get the nose gear down. So he had to go to Naval Air Station Patuxent River and land on an area there where he'd be safe. I'll finish the story in a minute. have Art Nalls, the world's only privately owned Sea Harrier. On that second flight, when Art was unable to get the nose gear down, he had to go to Naval Air Station Patuxent River. His ground crew headed over that way, and he put on a concrete pad, a big circular concrete pad. And there is video of it that I have seen. And he touches down on that main gear on the rear, on that bicycle landing gear with the outriggers, and then the nose came down, and it looked very smooth when he touched down from the video. He said to me that he felt like he was in a steel office chair, dropped 6 feet onto concrete. He was afraid the ejection seat would blow. He didn't. He was afraid he'd broken his back, and he wiggled his toes and could, so he figured it was all right. He figured he better shut the engine down. So he got it shut down, and there we go. Now, I just heard, okay, a rolling vertical or a vertical? Okay, another vertical takeoff. We're getting to see a great show. This is stupendous. You'll hear it. Now, the engine temperatures are cool. Now he spools it up, gets a little light on the wheels, he gets things ready to go, and then the throttle comes forward, and then on his left hand he also has another lever to change the direction of the nozzle. Straight up the nose. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at one happy guy right now. Art Nalls is smiling under his oxygen mask like a little kid. And we have seen a tremendous demonstration. That little valve is something that the Marine Corps used to do in their Harrier demonstration. For some reason, they stopped doing it. But Art Nalls, since he owns the airplane, can do what he darn well pleases. Canopy's back, he's going to taxi by, take the pictures. This is worth having. And if you're taking pictures and you're interested in becoming part of our air show community, you can do it online at airshowbuzz.com. That's www.airshowbuzz.com. We'd love to have you. It's free. There are air show reviews, air show previews. There are films about your favorite performers. You can post your photographs. You do the show on your own. We'd love to have you at airshowbuzz.com.